All right, Nick, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is cut down season. The rosters have been made down to 53, and there's a lot of surprises, but not necessarily guys who got cut. Maybe some guys that got traded that I think were really, really smart moves by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the fans, if you stick around, this one is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, this might be the move of the offseason when it all breaks down. This is kind of a really great job by the Steelers front office making a big time move here. The great report that you found, Miles, which leads me directly into the question today for Steelers fans to answer in the comment section below. What is your favorite trade in team history? There's been a lot of great ones. You can go back a number of years, so you can look at recent memory. Whatever it may be, give us your favorite trade in Pittsburgh Steelers history in the comment section below. But all right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest update out of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Nick, you got to think the trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick's got to be somewhere on the top of that list. Great player for them ever since he was traded for. But this might be the next best trade in recent memory, just purely for the the details of it. But let's get into the article and we'll talk about it a little bit afterwards. This is from over on Fansided. It says the Pittsburgh Steelers have traded former third-round pick Kendrick Green to the Houston Texans in exchange for a sixth-round pick. If you live in or around Pittsburgh or even follow the Steelers in general, you may find that miraculous, which it is. You would not be wrong. Green has had a miserable preseason and frankly a subpar career since he was drafted out of Illinois. Pittsburgh tried him at several different positions, including a center experiment which went horribly. Perhaps he can revive some of that potential in Houston, but he'd be better suited moving to his natural guard spot. Green was likely to be cut were he not traded to the Texans, so receiving a sixth-round pick for him just days after dumping Kevin Dotson is a win-win for the Omar Khan and this front office. Nick, it's more than a win. That's getting $1 million on the side of the road. You know, you're about to take a car to the junk shop, and then someone's like, hey, I'll take that car off of your hands. Here's a brand new Ferrari. That's the implications here. I'm not saying a sixth-round pick is a Ferrari, but the amount that they're getting for a guy they're about to just cut off the roster for being so horrifically bad so early on, it's just crazy that they were able to get something for him. What do you think about this trade, Nick?
So look, I always try and look on the positive side of stuff. I always sit there and say, I don't want to bury these players into the ground too much because look, they were a lot better players than I was, right? I was a backup at a Division I AA FCS school. Obviously, Kendrick Green had a much better career from that perspective than I did by far. So I'm always trying to be positive. These guys are professional athletes. These are their careers. So I sat down and said, okay, let me find something to really focus on here, maybe positive for Green. I looked at his PFF grade. His career PFF grade is like 52, which is not very good. It's quite terrible, to be honest. It's okay. Let me not focus on that. Let me go on his most recent preseason performance. He goes into this game against the Atlanta Falcons a few days ago, knowing, okay, I've got to stand out. My career is hanging by a thread here. I've got to have a great game, a great performance. And I watched it, and it wasn't downright terrible. It was just sort of the most laissez-faire, low energy game. He had a number of kind of whiffs. He had a couple okay blocks, nothing spectacular, but he didn't play like a guy who was on his last legs in terms of his career. He kind of just had low energy, just didn't look like a player who should be playing, to be totally honest, in the NFL. We've got a great picture, Mize. If you want to go ahead and throw it up from the preseason game, you can see number 53. You see Green literally in the middle of the screen. The rest of the Steelers' offensive line is blocking or looking for someone to block, and he's just kind of standing there staring at Mitch Trubisky right there in the pocket. If there's one play, in my opinion, that sums up Kendrick Green's career, it's this snap right here. And look, he's had a lot of low lights, a lot of really bad whiffs, but a lot of offensive linemen have bad whiffs, right? He's had some poor performances to start his career, but sometimes it takes a few years. But in this moment, showing this level of low energy in a game that his entire career was riding on, to me, is just like, you had to move off of him, no doubt about it. They were going to cut him, and yet somehow they got the Houston Texans to give him a sixth-round draft pick for him. I've never, like, that's literally selling $1, like trying to give away $1 and someone gives you a 5 back. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know what the Houston Texans were thinking, but great job by Omar Khan and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was a fantastic deal for the Steelers.
Yeah, Nick, they don't call him the con artist for nothing. He really
like
swindled. He swindled the Texans out of this one. But they've really done an admirable job. We go back a few years. The offensive line for the Steelers was a sticking point for many, many years. They make the trade for Sumalo, who I think is going to be a fantastic left guard for them from the Eagles. They have Dan Moore Jr. standing at left tackle right now, but Jones is looking really, really strong. We did a film breakdown of him if you want to go back and check that one out. Jones looks like a phenomenal player. So for all the misses they have, you can say, Green was definitely a miss on that third round pick. They had a lot of hits, and I think this offensive line, we don't want to name it by Green. Green was, a project and an experiment. It did not work out. This offensive line as a whole, I think it's looking really good, but still, I am just floored that they got something for Green, and they moved off Dotson over to the Rams as well. So that was another big move for them. They're doing really great things in Pittsburgh. I think there's so much to be excited for this season coming.